Hey all, welcome to another session on Python for data engineers. In this session, we are going to be talking about a specific module called logging. First of all, what is the need for logging? As a data engineer, you will be developing Python programs that performs a number of steps. So in between, you would want to know the status. So say for example, if you want to fetch data from a database and then do some transformation and then load it, and you want to do this for multiple tables, then in between, after fetching some 5 tables, your program has failed. You would like to know information about how much has been completed, at what stage it has failed, etc., to help you with the debugging. But because when a program fails, first you need to identify where is the point of failure. So to help with all that, one way to do is you can use a couple of print statements. So whenever you wanted to display something, you can throw in a print statement. But there is a better alternative, because sometimes when you're doing the development, you have that tendency, or you want to print a lot of things, maybe every intermediate step, every intermediate calculation. You want to make sure that it is working as expected, so you want to print a lot of things. But when it goes to production, once things have stabilized and um, you don't want to print that much information, only the critical steps, critical points needs to be printed, then you need to manually go and delete all those print statements. And then after a few days, somebody come back to you saying that there is some issue, there is an edge case, it's not working as expected. Then again you need to do the debugging, so you go back and put all those print statements again to see why it's not working as expected. So that's a lot of work. So that is why we have this module called logging, which will simplify your work. So how it works is, instead of using print statement, we will be using a logging module. There is a couple of methods available. These methods correspond to the level of logging. So these are the different levels available. The lowest level is debug. So when you are debugging, like when you want to provide detailed information, mainly for debugging purpose, you can use the level as debug. Then if you want to print some information, starting this job at this particular time, or started fetching this particular table, started fetching this particular file. So such kind of information, when you want to print, you can use the info level. Then when there is data issue, or when there is a data quality issue, you want to uh, display some warning, then you can label it as a warning. Then when there is an error, so usually if a log file, or if, yeah, in production we will be writing this into a file. So in a log file there will be so many number of lines. So if you want to quickly check whether there is an error, you can just do a control F for error. So you can easily identify when there is an error. When there is something more serious, you can label it as critical. So these are the different log levels. So let's see how to do the logging. So first of all, we need to import the module or package. So the package is called logging. So let me run that. Now, first of all, there is a point here. By default, only warning and above are shown if you don't set level explicitly in basic config. So let me first show you how to print something. So it will show you warning. Okay, so let me show how to log a warning. Logging dot warning, and then you can say this is a warning message. Let me do this for every possible one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So first I'll start with the debug. So this is just for demo purpose, but I will show you some meaningful messages as well. Okay, debug, then info. This is an info message, warning, error, error message, critical. So if you want to display something as critical, you need to log it like this, logging.critical. Okay, so I haven't used the basic config, so I'm directly printing something like this. Let me run this. So as mentioned here, by default, only warning and above are shown. So out of the 5 messages, only warning and above, warning, error, and critical messages are displayed. So this is how we can suppress, we can prevent printing of certain messages depending on what stage of development you are in. Suppose you are still in development, so you want to print everything starting from debug. So in that case, what you need to do is you need to explicitly specify that in the basic config. So let's see how to do that. So what you need to do is logging dot basic config, and you need to set the level equals these are constants in this module. So for debug, it's all caps. So if you want to set the level as debug, it's all caps, just like what is shown in this table. So let me set the level as debug. So now if you run, only 3 messages are getting printed. Another thing is, when you're running in Jupyter Notebook, whatever level, when you run a program, like when you run a cell for the first time, when you use the logging module for the first time, if you haven't set a level, um, it will assume the warning level, and then that will be tied to the session. So even if I set the level to debug here, if I run it again, there is no change. So I need to kill this session. I need to start a new session. So I'll go to kernel and restart. Now import logging. Then for this session, I'm going to set the level as debug. My intention is I'm still doing the development, so I want to print all kind of messages. So let me run this. Now you can see all messages are displayed. Now I have completed the development. Now the code is going to go into production. Now what I can do is I can change this level to info. So only necessary information will be printed. All the additional information we have put for our debugging purpose, or to help with our testing of whether the program is running as expected. All that additional info that we have put as a developer, it won't be displayed. So again, in order for this to take effect, I need to start a new session, import logging. Now I don't want debug messages to be displayed, only those from info and above. See, debug message is not displayed, only those from info and above is displayed. So just like that, if you don't want to print even warning, you just want error messages to be displayed, you can put in error. So if you don't specify anything in the logging, it will be warning and above. So that's the default setting. So now let me restart and start again. So this time um, I don't want to print even info or warning. I just want to print errors and above. So this is how you can easily just when you have a big program, you just need to come to the beginning of the program, change the level. In that way, if you have like 100 or 1000 debug messages, some 50 info messages, and only when there is an error, there is error message. So every time you check your log, there will be thousands of lines of code, because you are printing everything. So you don't need that when you're in production. So you can just set it to a warning or error, In that way, the log size will be minimal, and it will only log what is necessary. So that is the basic of logging. So again, let me repeat. So instead of using print statements, this is a better way to help with the debugging and displaying or conveying information related to your Python program. So we have 5 different levels starting from debug, and whatever level you specify in the basic config, uh, starting from that level and above, all the messages will be displayed. So if you set it to debug, all the messages will be displayed. If you set it to error, only error and above. So this is the log level, indicating the severity, and it is tied to a session. So in Jupyter Notebook, even if you change it here, in order for it to take effect, you need to restart the kernel. But if you're running a program from IDE, every time you run it, automatically it will pick up what is there in the first line. I'll show that in a minute. So this is the basics of logging and how to, instead of using print, the program has started. You can just use logging.info. This is how we use logging module. Okay, moving on. There are more functionalities available in the logging module. One is customizing the log format. So when you have a big program which is going to take a lot of time, it's going to run for a few hours, then you want to know at what time a specific event happened, that kind of information. So that is why we can, along with, so currently it's only printing the log level and then the message. So we can add additional information. You can add time of logging by specifying this log level, then log message, file name, line number, and then you can specify the format in which. So in this message, everything is separated by a colon. There is no space in between. If you don't like the log messages to be displayed like this, you want a custom format, you can set that. So that's what we are going to see. So for that, it's again set in that basic config setting. So logging.basic config. So when I have more than one parameters to be set, I will use like a multi-line for readability. So first I'll set the level equals, this time let me do debug. So logging.debug, and next I need to specify the format. So format equals, and then I need to specify whatever I want to print. So let's take the time. So I'll copy from here, %ASC time. Then I want a space and maybe a hyphen, just to show you whatever I put in here, the log messages will be logged in that format. So I'll put a space and a hyphen and another space, and then I'll print the level. Okay, and then I'll put a colon and a space and then the message. Okay, and let me copy the same things here. And in order for this to be effective, I need to restart the kernel and import logging and run it. So you can see the time, date and time, space, hyphen, then the log level, a colon, space, and then the log message. So in this way, you can customize how your log messages should be displayed. Okay, moving on. Usually, as a data engineer, during development, you will be viewing the output on the screen, but most of the ETL jobs will be running overnight. So you won't be available there to look at all these log messages as they are getting printed. So the standard practice is whenever we run the program, we write the log to a file. So let's see how to do that. So that is also set in the basic config. So let me copy that section here. And so what I need to do is I need to add an additional parameter here, file name. File name equals, I can put a name. I can put the name of the job. Say for example, this is the contract hire job. So I will put contract hire and it should end with the log. Okay. And what if the file is already there? I want to overwrite. So file mode, you can put it as either W. So W means if the file is already there, it will overwrite. If you don't want to overwrite, if you want to append to an existing file, then you can use A. Okay, so now again the same drill. Let me restart and run it. Oh, import logging. I didn't run the import logging. So whenever you restart the kernel, everything you have previously run, it's gone from the memory. So that's why I had to import the module again. See, now you don't see any log messages. You have a lot of logging done here, but you don't see any log messages. So let's go to the folder and contract hire.log. So the file is created. Now you can see it's a file. So this is how we can log the information into a file. Let me also quickly show you a program. So I have a program here, simple division operation. So this is how you, so for development only we use Jupyter Notebook, but when it comes to actually deploying the program, you use some IDE. Here I'm using Visual Studio Code. So we will have a main function. This is how we specify in main function. And then in the main function, in the first line, I specify what is my logging. So I'm setting a level to be debug and then format as just the level name colon message. And then it's calling a function. So if I control and click, it will go to that function. So inside the function, I'm displaying some information, whatever parameters are passed to this function, and then within a try block, I'm doing the division. And then if there is an error, like when there is a division by 0, it will go to the exception block and it will show the exception. It will log the error. If there is no exception, then it will display the result. So you don't want to display the result every time, only while doing the debugging. But when it goes to production, you don't want to display the intermediate results. So that is why I've put it as a debug, so that when I'm ready, I can prevent this messages being displayed. So now I right click and run Python. So you can see all the logs, info and debug. So every time I'm running something, so it's displaying. So now I don't want these debug messages. I just want to see info messages. Then what you need to do is change this to info. Now if I run again, only info messages are displayed. Now even if it is too much for you, you can change it to error. So let's trigger an error as well and run again. So there is an error. So in the log you can see along with info there is an error as well. So when you are writing this to a file, you can just control F for error and easily locate where is the error and what information is printed when an error happened. So this is how we can utilize the logging module to help with the debugging process. So that's everything for this session. Thank you.